If your life is affected by multiple sclerosis or any other neurological condition, then this channel is for you. So please consider subscribing to be kept up to date for future videos. My name's Liam, and in 2018, I was diagnosed with relapsing and remitting MS. In this video, I want to talk about depression. And I know it's hardly an exciting topic, but it's something that does affect our lives in different ways. So I want to talk about, in this video, the ways that depression can manifest itself as a result of or partly by multiple sclerosis or any condition you might be living with, but also hopefully sprinkle a few tips of ways that I try to deal with depression and keep going despite living with a chronic illness. Everyone's experience with depression can be different, and lots of the symptoms present themselves in different ways. Things like low mood, feelings of hopelessness, low self-esteem, lack of energy, and problems with sleep. And yes, mood is something that fluctuates. Everyone has periods of feeling up and down, but if you've got depression, particularly clinical depression, it's where you're sitting at that lower mood constantly or for much longer periods of time without any real obvious reasons. It's just because of how you feel. And for a lot of people, there's a sense of shame or embarrassment about that. They don't want to tell people, they don't want to talk about it. And for some people, that's fine, but I would encourage you to talk about it. I would encourage you to speak to your loved ones, your friends, counselors, people like that, but we'll get into that in a little bit more detail. I want to talk about the different ways that depression can present itself when you have a critical illness. So when it comes to multiple sclerosis, depression is a symptom, which means because of your MS, because of the lesions on your brain, or because of your condition, you now have depression. What a gift. Thanks, MS. But what also can happen is that because of your MS, it's not a nice thing or a condition you're living with, you might be finding that really challenging, really difficult to deal with, which can then result in depression. You can be depressed because of your MS, but you can also be depressed by your MS. If depression wasn't a symptom of MS, then you could still develop depression because you've become depressed because of your MS, because you're living with MS. So that might be a little bit confusing for some people. It basically means that MS is giving you depression, or you are seeing your life with MS and becoming depressed. So those are two different things. The third way it can kind of manifest is because of your ancestry or your family history. Depression is hereditary. It can run in families. It certainly has done in mine. I can sort of see which side of the family it's come from and how they've handled it or how it's affected their lives. And I know that I am likely to have depression because of my family, because of the genetics that I have. But I also have depression because it's a symptom of MS. And also feeling pretty down and depressed and down in the dumps about my life with MS. So it's a triple whammy. So yes, depression isn't just something you can brush off. Oh, it's fine, pull yourself together, snap out of it. It's a genuine, serious medical condition, and you can get it in a number of ways, sometimes from more than one angle. So I've been having a really tough couple of months, I would say. Again, my mood can fluctuate. I do take antidepressants and nerve painkillers that have a bit of antidepressant quality to them. So I am trying to manage that already. But I have been finding it really difficult and really challenging recently. You might have seen that I was posting videos quite regularly. That sort of dropped off a little bit just because I've not had the motivation to do it. I've not been able to allocate time efficiently to be able to keep producing content. I've just needed to take a bit of time for me. And that's really important. If you do have depression, you need to work with it. And it's the same with having MS. So having MS, having depression, or having both, you're not living with it, you're negotiating with it. That's a term I've used in a previous video that someone said to me, and for me that sits really well in my head in terms of how I interpret things. It's not something that I'm battling against. I'm trying to negotiate with it. I'm aware of it. I'm trying to accommodate it in some respects, but I'm also trying to do things that can appease it and make it so I'm less depressed or have periods where I'm not feeling depressed at all. And there's lots of things that can do wonders for your depression. Some of the obvious ones that we hear quite a lot are exercise and diet. So if you're drinking a lot of alcohol, eating a lot of rubbish and sitting at home, it's not going to help your depression. It's going to feed it, if anything. So I would implore you just to try and get into those habits of just, even for 5-10 minutes a day, going outside, getting some fresh air, going for a walk, getting some vitamin D, which we all need, getting some sunlight, And, I tend to stick on a podcast. I like to hear conversation. I like to feel a part of that and learn something maybe, or get into a bit of a chatty conversation. And that really helps me. And I am trying to be more sensible with my diet. I've lost a bit of weight. I've not been actively necessarily trying to lose weight, but it's helped. Maybe the depression has led to some of that. I've been trying not to lean on alcohol to cope or to make myself feel better. And I have been trying to get outside and get in some fresh air and, some natural sunlight. There are some experts that say that it's really important in the morning to get some natural sunlight, some fresh air, and a bit of forward movement. So that's not exercise as such, that's just literally going for a little walk. So, you might have kids, you might have a job that starts early, it might be difficult, but trying to just maybe even allocate 10 minutes, it doesn't have to be 20 minutes, half an hour, even though that's great, but 10 minutes, getting outside, is gonna do you wonders. I would also think about if there's things that are playing on your mind and are impacting your depression or causing you to feel either more depressed or causing the depression in the first place, trying to find the root cause of those problems can sometimes help. I find I get really down and stressed and worried when I've got a lot of deadlines at work, I've got a lot of work on, and I find that if I can try and manage that and structure it better and get a few quick wins, that I'm getting some success, that's going to release some endorphins, that's going to make me feel better, and I'm not going to worry about as much. I'm just trying to chip away at it. Instead of thinking there's too much there as a whole, I'm going to put it off. It's just trying to get those little wins, breaking it down into steps. It's just going to make it that little bit more manageable for me. Finally, I think one of the most important things, and arguably for a lot of people the most challenging, is talking to people. If you bottle things up, you're putting things that are causing depression into a backpack and holding it by yourself and not sharing that, and it gets heavier and heavier and it gets harder and harder and you feel worse and worse. But taking some of those things out of your bag and talking to people about them, getting it off your chest is really, really going to make you feel better. It can try to dispel that heavy weight or that dark cloud that's over us. It might not get rid of it completely, but it's certainly going to help. And the more you talk about it, the better. It's going to help more and more. You'll know that some of your friends, some of your family really are quite sort of dismissive or don't really want to talk about your depression or your MS or whatever you have. And that's their issue. That's because they don't know how to deal with it themselves. They don't know how to deal with someone they love having something that they don't understand and feel uncomfortable talking about. There are ways in which you can perhaps, talk to them about it and sort of try and explain that to them and say, listen, I could really use your help. I really do want to talk about it. But we all know there are people that are just never going to change. It's not what they deal with, and they want to just hide away and bury their head in the sand and not deal with it. And that's fine, let them crack on. But you will have people in your life that you'll know and you can identify that are there for you, that want to listen, that want to help. And I would implore you to reach out to those people and to spend a bit of time, go for a coffee, and even if it's you want to talk about the problems or you want to talk about anything else, but just talking, having that conversation, maybe working in some of the ways you're feeling, or maybe even a weekly check-in. Do you mind if I just have a quick text, just to check in? I'm feeling a bit down. I promise you, it's hard to do at first, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll do with talking openly about your feelings, your depression, and how that's affecting your life. And the more you do that, the more your friends and family will become more accommodating of it and supportive of it, and the better you will feel. If you don't feel comfortable talking to your friends and family about it because maybe you're a little embarrassed, or it's because you're worried about something that is a specific issue around MS or your life that, again, you don't really want your friends to know or discuss, then speak to your doctor. First of all, speak to your GP. They may be able to help you, whether it's medicinally with a prescription or referring you to some counselling that will help. But what I would encourage you to do is to search locally for any local counsellors that maybe it's private and they charge a nominal amount that you might be able to to factor into your budget, or they may be able to refer you on to a charity or organisation or someone that might be able to be there to be able to be reached out by you and talk about the things that are concerning you. Because what we don't need is more people bottling it up, more people worrying themselves to death or taking their own lives. Particularly, I'm seeing more and more stats for men where suicide rates are increasing, and we don't want to see that. I've had, intrusive thoughts before. Suicide is something that has entered my head. I'm trying to feel more confident about distinguishing between the fact it's an intrusive thought and the fact that I'm not taking any action from it. It's an intrusive thought, it's not my fault. I'm not worrying about that. But I'm confident that it's not something I would action, but being aware that those thoughts are there and talking to a professional about it is really going to help. So for anybody, but any men that are watching that are feeling down or are struggling, please reach out to somebody, whether it's your friends or family or a professional, or preferably all of those people. Speak to your friends and family because you can access them more quickly, but make an effort to speak to a professional to help you understand why you're feeling the way you are. Because yes, it might be because of the things you're worrying about, but there might be something else there that could help, that could, you could check off the list that's going to make you feel a bit better. So please, 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 do not bottle it up. Do not face it alone. Please don't take your own life. Talk to people. Talk to us. We've got an Instagram page now where you can drop comments or send messages. There's comment sections here on the YouTube channel. Reach out. I'm always here trying to chat with anyone who comments on the videos because I want to be there for other people, because even helping other people, I feel, gives me a sense of purpose and a sense of, I'm doing something positive. So that's also helping me. So depression, not an exciting topic to have to talk about, but something we should be talking about. And I hope that this video maybe even encourages just a few people to reach out to somebody and say, I am struggling and I do need some help, because taking that first step is the hardest, but the most important, and arguably maybe the most rewarding. So if you found this video helpful, or you've got some worries that you want to talk about, again, drop a comment. If you found it was helpful, do hit the like button. And again, if you want to see more videos like this, whether it's talking specifically about MS or symptoms or a condition that you struggle with, then do subscribe and join us, because we're starting to see a little community start to grow, and that fills me with a lot of love. We'd love to have you on board with us. So yeah, thanks for checking out the video. There'll probably be another video here. Give that a watch and let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one.